rearrange the stuff in a new way. And so that also comes from, you call it mental energy or human ingenuity. So those are two aspects of, I don't know, I think he's trying to say that energy, perhaps, because why should there be, okay, I understand there's a marginal time preference,
Yeah.
why does it shift? Because people have different...
In fact, you could argue, why do these two need to be different? Space and time.
That's what we experience.
That's what we experience. And then someone came along and showed, well, you might think that they're independent, Guess what?
They're not independent.
They're not.
Sure.
Yeah, space is a loaded word, basically. Another word could have been used. Time is pretty clear because it's now or later, so that there's that relationship of what we perceive to be linear time. It's not circular, but something like that. Space could, another word than space, energy, maybe not, but something that encompasses space and energy could have been used. That's the point I want to make. There's nothing magical about space. We're not. When you're talking about the marginal productivity of capital going to shorter or longer projects, or for the actual comparison may not be spatial per se.
Yeah. You're right, of course.
Yeah.
You don't think about it.
The word space is just, it's not time, put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, you don't think when you're being more productive that you're just rearranging objects in space, but obviously that is what you're doing, but whatever that is, really.
The other thing is, you talked about you want to, or people want to change the rate of interest. Only high-end philosophers think that way. Most people just see that there's an opportunity to gain and lose, and then the invisible hand comes in here, and all those people clicking their coins and putting in their pocket, that collectively, if you will, I don't like that word too much, but anyway, that's what changes the rate of interest. So, you have to go through that, and you can step back and see that that's what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Because why should I, keep this expensive bond when I can sell it and get gold and so on and so forth? But I don't think anybody's actually thinking.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of course you know what I'm saying.
They just think that it's expensive or cheap for their own
and then this
personal reasons.
And always I look at this as arising from stuff.
Yeah.
This pattern emerges.
Yeah.
The emergent phenomenon.
I think that's the best way of thinking about it. So there we have it. Are there any questions on this or anything else? No? Okay. Well, I think that we'll break. Andre?
Yeah, I have a question about another topic. It's about the bid and the ask, but I think I have a misunderstanding. Keith Wiener wrote a lecture on this, and he said that when you buy something at the ask will rise. And when you sell something at the bid will be pressed down. So it's kind of that movement.
That's not strictly true. It might. If you sell at the bid, then the bid might fall. And if you buy at the offer, the offer might rise after it. But that's only momentarily true, because someone else might come in with a lower offer and a higher bid.
Because Keith also said that the arbitrageur, when he operates at the market, the bid and ask, they will
narrow.
They will narrow.
Yeah.
So.
Because he comes in and says that if the spread is 5 and 10, the market maker will just come in and say, I will buy at 6 and sell at 9. So he is narrowing the spread because he has the stock and he has the cash. Do you see what I mean? So that if you want to buy or sell, you'll be doing it at the best price from him, from the market maker. Because if you're buying, you've now got someone who's offering it at a lower price. And if you're selling, you've now got someone who's bidding at a higher price. And if you buy and sell just from the market maker, he makes that profit, the spread, himself for his profit, the difference between 6 and 9. Assuming that he buys and sells, not just sells or just buys.
But he always buys at the bid and...
He will buy off you at the bid, yeah.
Okay.
So the way it works is like this, you know.
The arbitrator buys at the bid and sells at the ask.
Don't call it arbitrageur, call it the market maker. No market maker. Well, let's stick to this way around actually. Okay. So let's say this is 5 and 10. So if you want to sell the stock, you have to sell it at 5, unless you put an order to sell it in the middle somewhere. And if you want to buy it straight away, you have to pay 10. Okay, so no market maker, and then with. So you have that. And then the market maker will say, I will buy at 7 and sell at 9. Okay?
Why would he
So
do
you get...
Why?
Why?
Because he feels that whatever this stock is marketable. So he's willing to hold it as well as cash and say, I'll make a narrower spread than the people that are making a market otherwise. Okay, and if everybody buys and sells through him, well, he's buying at 7 and selling at 9. This is the marginal market maker,
Right.
I should add here.
Yeah.
Good point.
So with
Okay.
market maker you are always better off than without one.
Yeah. Marginal market
Okay, thanks.
maker.
A market maker has a four-legged strategy, which means that he can sell it off in either in time maturities or in other markets or in cash. And he's probably not alone.
He's not alone.
So you know, when he fancies it, let's say, he can, you know, he wants to make money. He sells high and buys low. That's what he does. Every time the tick moves a bit, and if it's persistent and in
Yeah, and
prolonged, then he will, that spread will close.
yeah,
It will never close to zero.
especially-
Well, sorry?
It will never close to zero.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, by closing, I mean,
Narrow.
big.
Narrow, yeah. Tend to narrowness.
What's important also to remember, I guess, in this context, is it's not the same person.
Yeah, it's not the same person. Yeah, it's a role.
That will keep the process going.
Yeah.
It's just, the marginal.
It's a role.
It's a role.
Yeah,
It's not the Goldman Sachs
Yeah.
market maker.
yeah. It's worth remembering that they might even be different people that comprise the marginal market maker. Okay, that's not that, and that's taking the theory to the next stage that I'm going to research. You know, but if there are different people comprising the marginal market maker itself, then obviously that is a development further of Menger's.
Sandeep, would you agree there's an analogy here between a warehouseman for goods and a warehouseman for these shares, of course, in a much shorter time frame? And he's playing the spread, just as the warehouseman is playing the spread, but over a much
Over time, yeah. He's only doing this for a day, whereas the warehouseman's doing it for a lot longer. Yeah.
It's the same principle playing out.
Yeah. So does that answer the question, Andre?
Yes.
Okay. Any more? Any more questions about bills, bonds?
How does he hedge? Sorry,
Who?
the market maker, or what if he gets stuck with a bunch of stuff?
Well, if he's got an inventory of the stock, it depends what he keeps his accounts in. If his accounts are in units of stock or units of money, it depends what he's trying to maximize. I imagine it's units of money though, rather than units of stock. But no, it's a risk that the stock could go to zero. Yeah.
For that return, he takes that risk.
Yeah, So that's why someone will only be willing to make a market in the most marketable goods. Otherwise, you could end up with a dead dodo or something. There's no market maker in houses. Your house is put for sale at the offer. Buyers come and they either bid lower and there's no change, or there's no sale, or you don't accept it, or they come up to your offer, or haggle and meet a price in between. There is no one that is willing to buy and sell property from you at any moment.
Here's an idea.
No, because property is not very marketable. And it's not homogeneous or fungible in any way whatsoever. Louis?
It's completely outside bills and this, but would you care to share with us your views or comments on the roles that Goldman Sachs plays today as market maker, as they claimed in congressional hearings to be their main defense? Selling stocks to clients or products, and on the other hand, shorting them because they had to make a market. It seemed pretty nonsensical and even fraudulent to me, but did it make any sense to you? Or
it did. I'm just trying to...
defense of being a market maker, as well as I get... to my mind, the problem was that if you're a market maker, that's what you should be, and not also a fund manager, or if you're an investment banker, you shouldn't be a fund manager. But either he was a very good actor, or he really firmly believed he was expressing his case. Because we're a market maker, there's nothing wrong in doing that. Is there any comment?
There might not be anything wrong in doing it, but, if you're only one of a set of 5 market makers in it, there is conflict of interest. There's too much conflict of interest in it, far too much. You can't sell products and then be the market maker in that product, the sole market maker. Unilever is not the market maker for Unilever stock. That's a good analogy, I think.
So the issue is exactly that. Conflict of interest.
I think that you have to separate out all of these things. You can't have investment banking, commercial banking, broking, fund management. You can't have it all under one entity. Commercial to investment banking just means that you're using the deposits, or you could use the deposits of the commercial business in your investment banking business. And I've met a bank or two, very big bank or two, where the numbers don't quite add up unless you assume that, basically. So, complete conflict of interest. This is Argentinian railroad bonds, which should be 50-year CCC minus bonds, being invested in with demand deposits. It's that kind of potential. Are there any more questions? Because after the break, it's going to be question period again. So
So what are derivatives then?
Derivative is like a promise, you know, it's just something that has its value based on something else. So you can have derivatives of gold, you can have derivatives of gold. And you can continue that.
And they do.
You could consider you could consider a gold bond a derivative of gold, you know. It's a very broad concept, derivative.
It's a
But
financial
how do you call, for instance, this bet on next year harvest in some grains or cereals? Is that derivative?
What, the futures market?
That's a future market or derivative?
The futures market is a derivative market of the cash, the real corn market. Yeah. But that is just a definition. A future market is you want to decide the price of delivery now, but delivery of the good is deferred, basically.
What you just described.
You bet on the production of the year, next year of something.
You can only bet on the price, not the production.
Okay, not a price of something, but you connect it to some date, year from now. And you like this, and if you guess right, you make money. If not, you lose money.
You're a speculator that the market desperately needs to function
Yeah.
efficiently. Yeah.
You
You're
bring
most
great
welcome
things,
on
they
the
will
futures
take.
market.
You steal your money just like anybody else.
It's there's nothing wrong with derivatives markets per se, if you use the broad concept of derivative, but the way that it's used now is different. You don't have, these are derivatives of natural phenomenon. Agriculture is a natural phenomenon, but to have derivatives on a commanded rate of interest is not a natural phenomenon. And it, well, because the commanded rate of interest itself is not a natural phenomenon. So the derivatives market must be over 1,000 trillion. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
Quadrillion.
Quadrillion, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Jeez.
Doesn't sound right.
But
How many more numbers do we need?
the key point is, I think what you were alluding to is because it is constructed on something that's not natural, like commodities. That's a highly regulated market, the commodities market, the futures market. But all the credit derivatives
Over the counter, yeah. 80% of that quadrillion is interest rate swaps of various kind, and it's all on the over-the-counter market or not regulated. So that's unusual. I mean, if you're looking at that from outer space, you just think that's a bit unusual.
That would be, to me, it would seem to be more curious for an alien to look at that and see it happening than watching us dig holes to get the ground out of the earth and digging another hole to put it in a vault, as Buffett said.
Yeah, yeah.
They should find it more interesting that we have 800 trillion or so notional value on interest rate swap and credit derivatives of all kinds.
Yeah, Mr. Buffett and Mr. Munger saying that, yeah, it's a barbarous thing to be buying gold. I can't remember what it was ruder than that. He said it a few quarters ago.
Yeah, what he said was not productive.
Yeah.
But he also called investing in the equity market He classified investments in three categories: currency-based,
Yeah.
productive, non-productive.
Mm.
And all his investments, he argued, were not currency-based.
Mm.
Well, I don't know. His share price is in dollars.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think then rather than taking a break and coming back, we'll probably finish early then, I think, if there are no further questions.
Well, we could come up with some questions during the break.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm not going to come up with any today.
You're not going to come up with any. Well, okay then, I tell you what, we'll have the 15-minute break and then think of some questions you might have. We'll congregate back in 15 minutes and then call it a day if there are no questions.
Good idea.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right then. Thank you.